Every year, about a dozen tourists have complete mental breakdowns in Paris. They hallucinate, panic, and some even need psychiatric hospitalization. And it only happens in this one city. Here's why. Today, we're diving into one of the strangest psychological phenomena ever documented: Paris syndrome. It's a very real condition recognized by psychiatrists worldwide, and it reveals something fascinating about how our expectations can literally make us sick. Let's explore what happens when reality shatters your dreams. Paris syndrome is a temporary mental disorder that strikes tourists, particularly from Japan, when they visit Paris and find that the city doesn't match their idealized expectations. We're not talking about mild disappointment here. These people experience genuine psychiatric symptoms: acute anxiety attacks, dizziness, sweating, hallucinations, feelings of persecution, and, in severe cases, complete dissociative episodes where they lose touch with reality. The Japanese embassy in Paris actually has to repatriate around 12 tourists per year because their symptoms are so severe they need psychiatric care back home. Think about that. A city can literally make you mentally ill just by not living up to your fantasies. The condition was first identified in 1986 by a Japanese psychiatrist named Hiroaki Ota, who was working in France. He noticed a disturbing pattern. Japanese tourists would arrive in Paris full of excitement, and within days, some would suffer complete psychological breakdowns, requiring emergency intervention. So what causes this extreme reaction? It comes down to three psychological factors working together to create the perfect storm. In Japanese culture, Paris has been romanticized to an almost fantasy level. French language, fashion, and culture are enormously popular in Japan. Many Japanese people grow up watching films and reading books that portray Paris as a flawless romantic paradise where everyone is elegant, cultured, and sophisticated. They imagine streets filled with fashionable people, charming cafe conversations, and an atmosphere of pure artistic refinement. When they actually arrive, reality hits hard. Paris has traffic, pollution, rude service workers, pickpockets, and dirty streets, just like any major city. Parisians don't dress like they're in a Vogue photo shoot every day. People rush, ignore tourists, and can be blunt or dismissive. The language barrier creates stress. The city smells different, moves differently, and feels overwhelming rather than romantic. Here's where it gets psychologically intense. When we build our identity or dreams around something for years, maybe even decades, and it suddenly crumbles, our brain struggles to reconcile the cognitive dissonance. For some individuals, especially those already experiencing stress or exhaustion from travel, this dissonance triggers a genuine dissociative response. Their brain essentially says, "This cannot be reality," and starts producing symptoms to cope with the psychological shock. Not everyone who visits Paris gets Paris syndrome, obviously. Millions of tourists visit every year and have wonderful experiences. But certain people are more vulnerable. About 80% of documented cases involve Japanese visitors, particularly women in their 30s, traveling alone or with friends. The extreme cultural contrast between Japan and France plays a major role. Japanese culture emphasizes politeness, orderliness, and indirect communication, while French culture can be more direct, informal, and chaotic by comparison. People who've rarely or never traveled abroad before lack the mental framework to handle culture shock. They haven't developed coping mechanisms for when reality doesn't match expectations. Individuals who've spent years idealizing Paris, planning every detail of their trip, and building it up as a life-changing experience are setting themselves up for potential disappointment. The higher the pedestal, the harder the fall. Travel itself is exhausting. Add jet lag, language barriers, navigation stress, and high expenses to someone who's already mentally or emotionally fragile, and you've created the perfect conditions for a breakdown. Let me share what actually happens to people experiencing Paris syndrome, based on documented psychiatric reports. One Japanese woman in her 30s arrived in Paris for what was supposed to be her dream vacation. Within 3 days, she became convinced that people on the metro were staring at her and plotting against her. She stopped sleeping, began hallucinating, and was found by hotel staff wandering the hallways in a dissociative state. She had to be hospitalized and eventually flown back to Japan with a psychiatric escort. Another case involved a man who became so distressed by the dirt and crowds in Paris that he locked himself in his hotel room for 2 days, refusing to eat or go outside. He developed tremors and couldn't speak coherently. His family had to cut the trip short and take him home. The symptoms typically include depersonalization, where you feel detached from yourself; derealization, where the world feels unreal or dreamlike; acute anxiety and panic attacks; paranoid ideation, where you believe people are hostile toward you; physical symptoms like rapid heartbeat and dizziness; and in severe cases, hallucinations or complete mental breakdowns. Most people recover fully within weeks once they return home and process the experience. But some report lasting anxiety about travel or feeling deeply embarrassed about their reaction. Paris syndrome teaches us something profound about human psychology. Our expectations shape our reality more powerfully than we realize. When we build something up too much in our minds, whether it's a city, a relationship, a job, or a life milestone, we're setting ourselves up for psychological distress. Our brains create elaborate fantasies based on limited information. And when reality inevitably differs, we experience genuine emotional and even physical distress. Idealizing anything or anyone is psychologically dangerous because it removes nuance, complexity, and humanity. Real places have flaws. Real people are imperfect. When we can't accept that, we suffer. Paris syndrome also reminds us that culture shock is real and powerful. What feels normal in one culture can feel shocking in another. Being aware of this doesn't make you immune, but it helps you prepare mentally for dissonance. The healthiest approach to any experience, travel, relationships, career changes, is to hope for the best while preparing emotionally for reality to be different from your imagination. Flexibility and adaptability are crucial mental health skills. Paris syndrome is rare, but it reveals something universal about human psychology. We all have expectations that don't match reality sometimes. The key is recognizing when we're building something up too much in our minds and staying grounded in realistic thinking. Paris is still a beautiful city, just not a perfect one. And that's okay. Perfection is the enemy of enjoyment. Have you ever experienced something that didn't live up to your massive expectations? How did you handle it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe for more psychology content that explores the hidden corners of the human mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.